I'm a Texas guy. I grew up in a family that had football coaches in it. My dad was a coach, my brother's a coach. I am honored to be here today. I'm excited to be here today. I want to take time and thank Dr. Evans and Jason Henderson for the support that they've given me. It's been great. As we move through this is a great time to be at Lamar University. I'm coming at it. I mean, it is a great time to be here. You know, I'll turn around and you've got great facilities here. You're sitting in this center, all right, and I look at the weight room. You've got a great place to train athletes, and that's what we do. We develop student athletes. We develop them in 3 areas. We develop them socially, academically, and spiritually. And we are excited about being here. I want to tell you right now, as I move forward, okay, the next thing that I think is really nice about this situation at Lamar University is the community. And we plan to be involved in the community. The football team will be active in the community and we will take part in it. I want to go and I want to move into this. I'm at a point in my career that I've had help to get here. And I've worked with some outstanding people in my life. 2 of them I want to mention, and Jason's already talked about them. Dennis Franchione and Gary Patterson. I would not be where I'm at today without them developing me and mentoring me. And I want to make sure I point that out. The next thing I'd like to do is I would really like to point out all the young athletes that have let me be and allowed me to be in their life. He pointed out a couple of Damian Thomas and Andy Dalton. I was able to be with those kids, coach those kids, and that's great. That's a lot of fun. All right? The one thing that's really also neat about this area, when you start talking about how to build a football program, you sit probably in the heart of one of the best recruiting areas in the country. When you start talking about the Golden Triangle, you start talking about Houston, Southeast Louisiana, East Texas, it is one of the best areas to recruit in the country. And we should be able to recruit that and find enough football players that's going to lead to a Southland Conference title. And that's where we want to go, and eventually a trip to Frisco, Texas. Before I open this thing up for questions, all right, I want to talk about a few more things here. Number one, and Jason talked about it a little bit, what type of offense are we going to have? I believe in having an up-tempo, fast, explosive. We're going to push the ball down the field when we need to. We're going to be balanced. We're going to have multiple formations. We're going to do a great job with that. On defense, I want to attack it. I want to pressure. I want to get after people. I'm not a sit back and catch guy. All right? I want to go get them, and I want to have big explosive plays as well as on offense and defense too. In the special teams, I want to be unpredictable. I don't. When we open up the first game, I'm going to make sure that people are wondering if we're going to surprise onside kick or we're going to kick it deep. If we're going to receive the kick, whether or not we're going to run a trick play or a throwback or something like that, we want to be unpredictable on that side of the ball. Now, I want to do one thing before I open this up for questions. I brought my fan club with me here today. All right? And I want to introduce one more time my daughter Kendall, Jordan, Taylor, and I want to, before I introduce this last one, I want to take a little bit of time to talk about her. All right? She's been on a journey with me for over 30 years. And I'm going to try not to get emotional, but this is a special day for me. I'm excited to be here. This thing, there is no ceiling on this thing. We can take this thing as far as we want it to take it. But my wife has been on this journey with me for over 34 years. And I want to make sure she knows how much I appreciate her and how much I love her. Because my family, I've often said this, I have a family. I have my family at home, and then I have 100, and as you see, I have 3 daughters. I have 105 sons. And that's how I treat those guys, like their family. So with that being said, I'd like to open it up for questions, please.
Coach, Harold Mann with KLBR Radio. Tell us what attracted you the most when you wanted to apply for this job.
Well, I got to go back right now. First thing, the administration did. I think Jason Henderson, when I got into it, Dr. Evans, I got to tell you real quick, this is off the side. I'm not trying to avoid the story here or not answer the question. I walked in and sat down in his office for an hour, Dr. Evans' office. Within 3 minutes, I knew I wanted to be here. I don't know if you guys know that. That's a competitive man. He wants to win. Make no doubt, we got a president in this room that wants to win and expects to win. And let me tell you, that's what I expect out of myself. I expect to win. I not only want to win, I expect to win. And that was one of the things when I started researching Lamar University. You know, what attracted you, look at the recruiting area. Look at the Golden Triangle. Look how many athletes. Look back through the history of this place and just the Golden Triangle. How many guys are in the NFL? At one time, what was it they said within Houston and the Golden Triangle, there were more players in the NFL than any other part of the country? Well, that's still there. That's what we can stay right here, recruit, and build our football team with kids from this area. And that is, I think that's great. And to win, what's important? You've got to have good players. I've spent some time at A&M this year watching film and helping them a little bit. One thing I would tell you, after I watched Alabama and LSU, you win with good players. You win with good players. So we've got to go out and we've got to get the best players in this area. You know, I want to build a wall. I want to build a wall that's going to keep kids within that in the Golden Triangle in this area. But so when I talk about winning, you talk about recruiting, coaching is the next part. I'm excited about that. That's the easy part for me, the coaching. The next thing that I think that's really good about this is the community. I think we've got a great community here. I think this is a community, from what I've seen, that gets excited about football, that likes football. All right? And if we go out, if we extend ourselves as a football team, if we extend ourselves, if we reach out and we touch the community, I think the excitement that will be here on Saturday afternoon is going to be off the charts. So, I mean, those are the things. And I don't know if I can make that any clearer. Those are the things that get me fired up. Anything else? Yes?
Coach, Dan Shapiro at Bowman Enterprise. You know, the reality of this program, since it's come back, there has only been one winning season. Attendance has been down 6 of the last 7 seasons. I mean, what do you do? You say these things that you want to do, but what do you do right away to really make sure that you can get to these goals that you really want?
Well, first thing you talk about, first thing we got to recruit well. We've got to get a better product out on the football field. We've got to do a great job of recruiting. We've got to do a great job of coaching. That's without a doubt. All right, and the next thing that I think we've got to do as a football, we have to let this thing permeate from inside out. Okay, so you know, I looked online. There's 150 organizations on campus. I plan to let our athletes pair with these organizations, take those organizations, and let's go do something in the community. Let's get involved in the community. All right, and now what we're doing, that's a win-win situation. The first thing, we're reaching out to the students that are at Lamar University, and then we're going out in the community and spreading the word of Cardinal football. You know, and now what are they going to do? There's a ton of things. I know this. I saw that they had the bicycle and Bible giveaway. We need to have athletes. We need to be there with coaches, and we need to be there taking part in that function. We need to be there, and we need to be active in that area. So those are the things, as far as I think that our first steps to do is to get the community back involved and get the community back behind us. And not only, when I talk about our team, I'm talking about our assistant coaches. Me as a head coach, I have to lead the way. That is my job, is to lead this program and lead the way, and I intend to do that.
Coach, I know you've only been here 20 minutes up at that podium, but have you talked about the staff? Have you decided to put together a staff?
You know, I'm in the process of doing that. You know, before I say too much about that, you know, I wanted to have a chance to sit down and talk to Jason and visit with him. But, you know, I've been doing this for 34 years in this state, and most of the time it's been in this state. All right. Through that time, there's no doubt we will put together a great staff. that is going to have, the one thing it will have Texas ties. Because I can't say enough about the Texas high school coaches, you know, their role, how they handle this thing in this situation in the state. But I want to make sure we can reach out and touch the Texas high school coaches, and you do that with getting people that they can identify with. So we're going to get Texas people that have Texas ties.
Coach, I see more Port Arthur News. Exactly what was your position this past year with the Texas A&M football team?
You know, I worked as a volunteer analyst. Okay, spent a little bit of time down there with them, you know, analyzing film and stuff like that.
So with that being said, you spent a year away from the sidelines. In a way, has that kind of recharged you for this job right here?
Well, let me tell you what I've done in this year that you say I spent time away from. I've been over 20 FBS and FCS programs. I took time, I flew to Utah. I flew to Virginia Tech. I went to Texas Tech, New Mexico State, UTEP, North Texas, SMU, TCU. Do you want me to keep going? I spent time visiting with those people, talking to them, working with them, making sure. One thing I want to do, I want to stay fresh on what's the new things in the game of football. And that allowed me to do that. And not only that, my wife was probably going to kick me out of the house anyway because she was getting tired of me being around. And it was therapy. And it was therapy for me. If I wouldn't have done that, I would have been in trouble. Okay?
What's the biggest thing you learned in all those travels?
You better recruit, and you better get good players. You know, I'll tell you, I'm not taking anything away from anybody, but, you know, LSU wins on defense and had that great defense. They had good players. Alabama wins. They had really good players. You know, they had players that can make plays and perform. So we've got to do a great job as a staff of handling this area. And again, I think it starts from the triangle and works out, permeates out. Yes?
Coach Chad Cooper with the Examiner. How important is it for you to have an open door policy with all the local Texas high school coaches, and how fast will you be over the next couple of weeks?
You know, and that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. Some of that right there, I think, and it's probably already out, but when they see my name, they're going to identify. I've been in this state a long time. I've got great relationships with the high school coaches. You know, have you heard of these all-access passes where you get to come, you get a pass and you get to go anywhere you want to? They're all going to have that, every one of them. You know, that door is going to be open. Those doors are going to be open. They're going to be able to come here. And you know what? I'm not going to stop with the high school coaches. That's going to extend to junior high coaches and the little leagues. You know, the sixth, fifth graders and stuff like that. I want to make sure that they know they can walk through those doors. They can come and sit in my office and say, Coach, what's going on? And I'm going to know them on a first name basis. Now, I'm not there yet, Chad. Okay, I don't know all of them on a first name basis, but I will get there.
Have you had a chance to meet with the players yet?
No, and looking forward to it.
Do you have a timeline for that?
You know, I probably won't meet with the players until they return to school. You know, I will. The first thing, I will tell you this. People want to know what's the first thing you're going to do as a coach. I'm fixing, as soon as we walk out of this room, I'm going to start calling the players that were here. You know, when you go through this transition, and I've been in this situation before where I've been on a staff coming in, the players are a little bit disarrayed. They're not sure what's going on. I want to reach out to them. I want to make sure everything's okay. I want to make sure they know that we're going to have a good staff in here, and as soon as we put the staff together, I will have the staff start reaching out to them.
Coach, how beneficial is your background with the Southland Conference as a player and as a coach?
Well, first I got to tell you, and I was on the team at Sam Houston. I'm a much better coach than I was a player. But no, you know, and that kind of goes back. You know, I feel good. You know, when we were working through the process from going FCS to FBS, okay, we played a Southland Conference schedule. And so I felt very comfortable with it. I think I understand it. I hope that answered your question.
Coach,
Yeah.
Dave Hoffman with KBNT, ABC affiliate. What's the biggest challenge? You know, you have a lot of experience at the FBS level. Coming down to FCS where there's only 65 scholarships. Talk about the challenges there.
Well, I wouldn't really call it challenges. I mean, it's just there's just a few things you have to do differently. You know, we're able at the FBS level, you never split scholarships. at this level, FCS level, you have the ability to split scholarships and build to 85. Is that a challenge? No. What it is to me is just you've got to be careful. You've got to identify. You've got to do a good job recruiting. You know, what makes a good recruiter? A good recruiter can look at a kid, can identify him, and tell things about him and probably project him. You know, just talking about recruiting a little bit right there, you know, we were masters of that at TCU. You go back in the heyday at TCU when we were building that program in the early 2000s, okay, and coming up, we did a great job of identifying the so-called 2 stars and 3 stars. And let me tell you something, I put no stock in this star business. LaDainian Tomlinson would have been a 3-star athlete coming out of Waco University, and he was at one time, he was the best running back in the world. So I don't put a lot of stock into all this star business. I laugh about this all the time. This is a common joke with me. I want to know who's putting the stars on those guys anyway, and if they're as good evaluators as I am. So it's all about evaluation. It's all about projecting kids. And so when you talk about that, I'm more concerned with getting coaches that know how to project, look at those kids, can tell things athletically, and then we'll split the scholarships up and do what we need to do. But I really don't see it as a challenge.
Coach, what is your favorite story of Andy Dalton and LaDainian Tomlinson?
Well, I don't know if this is a favorite story, but just to let you know a little bit, I coach players and I coach them hard. I coach with a lot of passion. Hopefully you realize this. I may not be the best speaker, okay, and I'll probably prove that today. But out on the football field, I coach with a tremendous amount of passion, a tremendous amount of energy. LaDainian Tomlinson is fixing to make his run for the Heisman Trophy. Now, guys, this is going into his senior year. He put the ball on the ground in practice one time. I took him off to the side. I took the ball. I threw it on the ground. I said, cover it. He went over, recovered it. I took it. I batted it over there. I made him go over there and recover it again. I did it again. You know what? I coached him hard. LaDainian Tomlinson still talks about that. He laughs about it with me today about that. But he put the ball on the ground. That was a standard procedure for us. When you fumble the ball, you have to recover the ball. And we did that. And, you know, you're talking about doing that now to a Heisman Trophy candidate. And they laugh about that. Andy Dalton, let me think here. You know, I got to tell you, I know you probably don't know Andy. Andy may be the most upstanding kid I've ever met. I mean, Andy doesn't do anything wrong. And he never gives you any reason to get mad at him or get on him. And he follows, he's just a really good kid. I'm sitting there thinking, and it's a great question, I'm sitting there thinking, what story do I have on Andy? You know, none that's really funny. Andy's pretty straight-laced. He hadn't touched a drop of alcohol, I don't think, in his life. I mean, Andy is a straight-laced, Christian, good kid. And he just didn't do anything wrong. So, I mean, but now, was he a great player? Wow. I mean, Andy Dalton, when he was first there, I can remember he was a redshirt freshman and he'd make a throw, and I'd look over at some of the other coaches and say, did y'all see that? Did he really make that throw? So, I mean, yeah, he was a great player, but Andy was just a super kid, and I think that's what sticks out in my mind the most.
Coach, recruiting, getting into a heavy period between now and February, how's that going to be approached?
Well, first thing I think we got to do in recruiting, okay, is make sure we're hiring the right people as a staff. Some people with Texas ties. I'm going to rely on their Texas ties a bunch to facilitate this process. To maybe, there's no doubt we're a little bit behind, but I think if you put coaches in place that have strong Texas ties, that have been in this state, that understand this state, we'll catch up and we'll be okay. So, I mean, that now we're just down to recruiting.
Hey, Coach, is there one particular moment you're looking forward to the most, either waking up on game day or walking out in the field?
Getting this press conference over with. Yes, Jack.
Coach, since you said that, your offense at Texas State was able to spoil the University of Houston's first game at TD-ECU Stadium. I know everybody wants to know schedules, and I know Lamar is locked into certain things. Do you have a vision of who, some bigger programs other than having to go play Texas A&M and the Houstons and the Texans, who Lamar can go and compete and beat against?
I'm going to deflect that right over there to that guy sitting right there. I'm going to let those two guys right there talk about that stuff, okay? We've talked about that a little bit, and I think there's going to be further discussions on that. And there's really not a way I want to make a comment on that right now, but thanks. Anything else?
Any further questions for Coach? Okay, if that's the case, what we're going to do is we'll set a time for one-on-ones right now with the meeting with Coach.
Sure.
We'll put that right here, and we're dismissed.
Thank you very much for coming.
He's going to shake a few hands and be right back.
Yes.
I need to do a talk back with them, but I'll wait in line if I have to.
Okay, all right. Let me start getting through there.